Well, hello out there. Christmas came early with a gift from Connor McDavid to win it in overtime. I'm joined tonight by the newest member of the heavy hockey writing crew, Raghu Sharma. How's it going tonight?
Good, man. It's a good win. So excited we beat Vegas. We're top team in the league right now, at least in the Western Conference. So, and then Connor McDavid doing Connor McDavid things. So glad to be on the podcast, Mike.
Thanks for joining us. Warren Fogle kind of gets elevated to play with Leon and Nuge, and right away he gets us on the board and off to a lead, and we're not chasing a game for once right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about how just from the top, how all the line combinations had to be shifted. We needed a change, and you saw Nuge playing with Dry. As you said, Vogel got elevated. The loss of Evander Kane is been huge, and we need that depth scoring to step up. Even Janmark getting a look on the top line, I felt like he had quite a bit of a prominent game, and even Costin with I think 4 hits or something, and one massive hit that led to a key power play. So overall, the line juggling worked quite well today, and as you said, Warren Fogle, solid performance and big goal to start the game off.
Yeah, I thought he had a really good first period. Like he could have had a hat trick in the first period. I think he
He
kind
could
of
have.
I think he kind of went to sleep a little bit in the second, but in the third was good again. So yeah, hats off to him tonight. I think that might have been his best game as an Edmonton Oiler, to be honest.
Oh, that's a good one. I would have to think back because last year he was on that stretch where I think he had 5 or 6 games that was the span of his 10 goal period with us. But I would say definitely his best game of this year for sure. And he's been coming on ever since that shorty play, scoring that big goal. He's been coming alive a bit, and that's good. I think he's one of those players that really needs the puck to go in to have some sort of confidence. So yeah, I agree. I think that was definitely his best game of this season.
I've been thinking since the start of the season that there's a few guys on this team that it's kind of like, you ride the tilt-a-whirl. They get on a little bit of a streak, and then they get off, and you know and when I say that, I'm kind of hinting towards him, Puliarvi, and Yamamoto. I think those guys are all kind of riding that tilt-a-whirl, and maybe when Fogel gets off it, it's Yessi's turn, and then maybe by then it's Yamamoto's turn. I think they're keeping him out a little bit here. You know, I'm pretty sure it's concussion issues that he's going through, and that's unfortunate. So I hope he gets healthy. But in the meantime, other guys got to step up. So
I agree. Yeah, I think with Yamamoto, you could kind of tell he hasn't really been 100%. Like, he's still got that drive where he chases the puck into corners and it tries to make things happen, but he just hasn't looked like the Yamamoto from last year, especially the second half of last year. Yeah, especially with him out, as I mentioned, Kane earlier, these are at least the top guys on this current Edmonton roster. And when they're kind of sitting out, you need other people to step out. So it's funny, you won't find a bigger Puliarvi supporter than me. So I think what he does from a grit factor is really good. But at some points, the Corsi stats don't mean as much. You need to start putting the puck in the net or making big plays happen. So yeah, if it's Warren Fogle for now, that's great. Hopefully we don't get to that seesaw battle, like you said, where it's one guy's on, another guy's off. It'd be nice if all our guys could start rolling, especially then you create some offense in waves, and that's something we've been lacking.
um, I mentioned to you, like, before we actually went on air, that I was having trouble with some of the restream stuff, so I'm having to watch the YouTube chat on my phone because it's not showing up on the computer. But there's a YouTube guy with a handle called Some Stranger, and he's liking the play of that Costin guy, and you know what, I am too. That's injecting another big body into the lineup, a forward with some physicality. I think that helps. With the loss of Kane, just to add some of that. Tonight, Skinner. It was a little bit of deja vu from the Mike Smith days with the one almost gaff that almost went out in the back of the net. I was a little nervous there, but you know what? He's given this team a chance, and that's really, for a long time, that's what we've needed, and they're getting it. Monday's going to be a tough test again with the red-hot New Jersey Devils in Jersey. Do you go back to Skinner? Do you give him the net, or do you say, Campbell, here's a chance?
I mean, it's a tough call because I think I just saw Jersey stat today, right? They won their 12th, and they're trying to go for a franchise-tying record of 13th game, which is crazy to think like that they didn't even eclipse their previous record. Personally, I think you ride the hot hand, and I think you still go with Skinner. Jack Campbell is one of those goalies. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a great goalie, but he's someone who gets in his head quite often, and it's hard to tell what it takes to get him out of that headspace. And the way I look at it, do you really want to throw him in the fire against a great team like the Devils? Like, I think back to the last time we played them, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Skinner was in net for that game when they scored like in 6 seconds to basically win that game. There was the goal, and then right off the face-off, they scored again, and that ended up being the victory. I think Skinner played that game, so I almost think you have to give him the chance at revenge against the Devils.
Yeah, I will get my crack team of myself to try to find out.
Always great when you got to do that live on the air. But just shifting over to the comment from the YouTube chat while you're pulling that up. I think Costin was fantastic. I think he's looked good in the last few games. I think the injection of both him and Janmark has been huge. They both bring a tenacious level of effort in different ways. Janmark has speed. I thought he was really good, especially in the third period. I wasn't sure if something was going on with McDavid a bit in this game. Like, clearly he showed in that overtime goal. Like, there's no stopping this guy, but I just felt like some of his passes were a bit off today. I thought maybe he might have taken like a chop or something to the hand, because he's just drifting a bit on the right hand. But that could have just been just some gaffes and some plays. But Costin with some solid big hits. He's exactly what we need. This Oilers team just doesn't hit a lot, so we need players like that. We need somebody to step in and inject, as you said, what we've lost with Kane a bit. And that's what I've always thought is you need your top six to really be the differentials. Your bottom six really needs to play even. And with the injection of someone like Costin, you feel like you can kill plays, especially with a man of that size. So I definitely agree with that one.
And let the record state that you were correct. It was Stuart Skinner that got the call last time against the Devils. So maybe they do go back to him for Monday's game. I don't think he looked tired tonight. I think he looked fresh.
Nope.
and kind of had his legs and did pretty much everything you could ask.
Yep.
I'm borderline upset about the penalty shot that was. I sort of thought Ryan Murray wasn't really that far behind him. And to me, it didn't look like a clear-cut breakaway, but Luchansky, the ref in the group chat, of course, sides with the refs with that call. So I stand. I'll let it go, I guess, eventually.
No, that's fair. I think it's interesting. They talked about it a bit, even on the panel at intermission. That I think they brought up like the Kyle Connor play in the Flames game, and he cut around, I think, Rasmus Anderson, and they didn't call that, or they called that a penalty, but not a penalty shot. And
yeah.
I forgot who. I think Elliot Friedman said like all of those plays should be penalty shots.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that. On this play, I think that he had the half step. Now, whether the impact of Ryan Murray's stick was enough to warrant that as a penalty shot, I think that's always going to be a debatable one. I think if that play happened the reverse way, I would think that's a penalty shot. So I kind of agree with the ref in our chat on that one. And at least it didn't cost us the game. I have a bigger issue with the blatant, such an obvious non-icing call that led to the game tying goal. That's the one that I really have an issue with.
You know, linesmen are usually the best officials on the ice night in and night out.
Agree.
But this year, I think Tyson Perry's been victimized a few times by non-icings that are there to kind of protect the player.
Agreed.
Yeah, that part bothers me a little bit. That.
Yep.
I think it was Pietrangelo and Janmark. Janmark kind of was doing some shit to him, and then Pietrangelo hauled him down to the ice, and no call there. I'm okay with that because one guy was doing one thing, the other was doing the other. Whatever. It's not really, you didn't really gain an advantage, and it didn't lead to really much of anything. So whatever. But yeah, some of the icings that aren't this year are suspect as far as I'm concerned. But I don't like to really rip linesmen because I think most of the time they do a fabulous job, and most of the time these reviews are over like an eyelash, and I can't really fault the linesman for missing it.
Oh, yeah. I have no issues with the linesmen on tough offsides and plays like that, for sure. I think they do a pretty good job calling it. They get the same flack for calling something that's offside that's to most viewers, it's like, that was right on the line. Why'd you blow the whistle? Same thing goes both ways. But I agree. Was it the same game where Barry was chasing down the puck and the icing wasn't called and that was dangerous as the play? Was that the LA game, last game, where there should have been an icing? The puck was clearly over the white and they didn't call that icing near the end of the game.
I don't know if the one where Barry got belted was against the Kings. But
that's right. That was the game before.
Yeah, you're right on the one that went about that far past the end line, and they thought it stopped on the end line, and they didn't get an icing there. But yeah, in that Kings game though, Barry, I think something else happened there, but I wasn't like, there was another funny hit in that one, I think. But in the same token, Hyman kind of took a run at Doughty, sort of from behind. It was borderline. So I mean, if you miss one at one end, I don't get too excited about one at the other. But I don't know. It's just, I agree. It was frustrating losing to the Kings. Just kind of, it felt like we were playing the Anaheim Ducks again. Like that was a kind of a mucky game, and I guess might as well get into it now that Josh kind of has made his videos about the Edler thing, and we kind of go back and forth with it in the group chat. But kind of I've watched it enough. At first, I really hated it, but I don't know. To me, Edler knows he's beat and does nothing to get his leg out of the way. And Connor, was shifty and was going to beat him to the outside, so he just makes sure he gets a piece of him. And I don't know if you want to call it dirty or sneaky dirty or cheap or what, but I didn't like it. There was a 2-minute minor on the play, but for me, I'd be okay if that was a double minor or even 5 in a game, or if you really want to protect your star of the marquee player in this league, or really anybody for that matter. A 1-game suspension for something like that, I wouldn't really have too much of a problem with it. I don't think it's 10 games. But I mean, if you start throwing your knee intentionally, and I don't think that was that, but you start doing that, then multiple game suspension. I mean, you can blow an MCL, ACL, whatever there, and it can be a year or 9 months recovery time. So, and the one thing that I dislike about the NHL is a lot of times that's how they evaluate what is suspendable or not, but is by how many games the player that gets injured is out, and yeah.
No, I'm totally with you there. And that was actually going to be kind of a point I would raise, where the Department of Player Safety almost tries to balance things out. Like if a guy's going to be out for the season, then it's like, okay, this is going to be a longer suspension than, oh, it was a near miss and Connor's okay, so he gets nothing. I've looked at it multiple times. I agree with you that in the sense that, yeah, it wasn't intentional, as in he didn't stick his knee out, but you've seen that play enough. You know what sneaky players do enough, and he's a repeat offender. So
yeah.
You've seen how he's done it before. To me, you have to, especially the Department of Player Safety, should be looking back at previous incidents, especially ones where the exact same thing has happened, and know what the player is doing in that instance. Especially when you make the comment around McDavid being shifty there, he even had to kind of make that move because it was the other LA player, I can't remember who it was, but was almost blocking his path. So I think McDavid did enough to actually try to avoid what could have been worse just by doing the shifty move that he did. So, and then to your point, like, okay, it's a 2-minute minor. They don't call it worse. Somebody, I forgot who, somebody in our chat mentioned that, like, Nurse has to keep his cool, like not do anything. But that's your
fuck that.
If the refs aren't going to protect the star players, then that is that job. And to be honest, if Kane was in that game, Kane would have been the one stepping in, not even Nurse. So to then balance that out and nullify that whole thing is where I felt the refs dictated that game, or dictated at least that play.
It's laughable to me that we didn't end up with a power play. Like,
agreed.
Yeah, no. And you didn't even let Nurse do what he went over there to do. I mean, but yet you gave him a double minor. Like, no.
Yeah, like to me at that point that should be, well, we're going to give neither player anything extra because we didn't let you do what you wanted to do. So it's, yeah, I don't like to get on officiating too much, but we are talking about the Kings here, and it kind of an interesting transition. We played the Kings in the first round last year. They play this kind of mucky type of game that you're talking about, and I was at Game 7 last year when we won that 2-0 game, and Mikey Anderson, he basically slew-footed Draisaitl and led to that injury. It's just that is how LA plays, and this is where I just wonder what, again, is the Department of Player Safety looking at with some of these incidents. A similar one, you could talk about Kirill Kaprizov getting that 5-minute. I don't know if you remember that. It was against the Kings too, and he kind of accidentally whacked Drew Doughty, and he got ejected from the game, and didn't get he just got a 5-minute or something, got ejected, and that was a nothing play. So there's just no consistency, game to game right now.
Yeah, no, that slew foot on Draisaitl was a pretty bad one.
Yeah.
And credit to him for fighting through all that and being the horse that he was through the playoffs afterwards. I mean, he torched the Flames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McDavid and Draisaitl together, that was great. Actually, I live in Calgary. I don't know if you knew that, but it was great. Just kind of going down to 17th Ave when every time we'd win, especially after Game 1, I remember I was hearing it from everyone over here that we were going to lose the series, and then we came and won 4 straight, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was almost a letdown of a series, though, to be honest. Like, Calgary didn't put up much of anything, and we're all expecting this physical, Sutter type hockey. Calgary never played it.
No,
they abandoned ship.
It was quite interesting. I actually went to every Battle of Alberta last year, and I didn't actually attend any of the playoff games for the Battle of Alberta, but I was at the last game when they lost 9-5 in the regular season, and then the first game of the series they lost 9-6, and it was like, okay, this is 80s BOA. This is like,
Yeah.
there's it's just all offense, no defense. And to be honest, I think we neutralized Matthew Tkachuk and players like him so early after game. Like, he did what he wanted in game one. He was calling out Evander Kane, and then they just didn't, like, nobody did anything physical in that game. And you can even look at it as Johnny Gaudreau's big exit was when he basically skated away from the puck in overtime. Connor McDavid had that walkthrough and had that perfect shot over Markstrom's glove. Like, it's just, it was funny. Yeah, we took like the will out of them. And it's even interesting to see what's kind of going on with the Flames this year.
Yeah, Dash had them picked to win the Pacific. Yeah, and you know what? I'm not gonna bug him too much because you never know what can happen. And you know, earlier, you see so and so isn't doing this or doing that. But I mean, we're not even 20 games into the season. This is
No.
this is a marathon, not a sprint. So a lot can happen between now and the end of the year.
Well, I mean, look at the top five teams right now. You've got teams that most people would have not expected. Jersey's on a 12-game win streak. Boston is somehow resurgent.
Yeah.
And interesting coaching changes all around. Like, you saw Vegas have the coaching change with Bruce Cassidy going over there.
Yeah.
They've been on a roll. Boston has figured it out with a new coach. Even what's his name? Vegas's old coach, who's now Dallas's coach. I'm blanking on his name right now. Even Dallas is surging. It's just quite interesting.
Peter DeBoer.
Peter DeBoer. Thank you. It's interesting, and the Seattle Kraken. So it's just quite interesting. What is going on so far this season? It's kind of fun, actually, when it's not going the way you expect.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, of all the times I've seen the Eichel McDavid head to head, this might have actually been Eichel's best game in that head to head matchup tonight. And I think all he did was have an apple there, or
Yeah,
yeah,
I think you're right. I think he did have an apple.
or he's the reason. Yeah. Did he spring Stone? Did he spring Stone, or was that?
He
But
sprang.
it won't show up because it was a penalty shot goal.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who's. It might have been him. I know he got the assist on Mark Stone's other goal, like
Okay.
the one that was due to the icing delay that we're talking about, but I don't know if he sprang Stone. That's a good one that we'll need to go back and check the tape on. But I agree. I think this was Eichel's best head-to-head game, which is interesting because I think they were showing the stats that in their head-to-head matchups, Eichel had 11 points and McDavid had 8, at least coming into this game. So Eichel's had the points advantage, even though he was on a terrible Buffalo team this whole time.
Bouchard had a bit of a tough one, and I don't know why he's all of a sudden become the new Andre Reg Sekera shin pad assassin, but that seems to be what's happened to him the last 2 games.
So actually, I was going to bring that up. I pulled up the stats on the giveaways by our defense, and there was 10. There was 2 by Bouchard, 3 by Barrie, 2 by Nurse, and 3 by Ryan Murray. 10 giveaways again. And overall, our defensive structure's been rough. But focusing specifically on Bouchard, I agree. The loss of Duncan Keith has been bigger for him than anybody else. Like, you can just see that he's lost sometimes out there, and I really expected him to take a massive step. I've been critical for a while that I've felt that Barrie has been a bit redundant to Bouchard, but right now at least Barrie is producing on the power play, and as you said, Bouchard has been like shin pad assassin. Even today, near the end of the game, he had a great breakaway chance, and he just instead of taking the clear shot, and this goes back to the Oilers as a complete group forever. They seem to want to score the pretty goal every time, and a pretty goal and a greasy goal count as the same kind of goal. So I don't get why that mentality is the way it is. But again, today he had that drive in and he toe dragged on a defensive stick by White Cloud, I think, where he was already set. And it's like that shot is not going to get through if your load up time is that slow. Like you can see how slow it is before you see it on an instant replay. So I don't know if it's a lack of confidence. I'm not sure what it is, but he needs to find it quick. Because he's making mistakes out there left and right. There was one giveaway on the power play that could have easily been a shorthanded goal where he just overcommitted and then missed the puck and forgot who it was that was skating out defensively for Vegas. But that could have been a big play. So
CC had to bail him out too once tonight.
CC, sorry, that's the play I'm talking about where CC came in and stick lifted. Carrier. It was Will Carrier. That was the exact play.
Almost a breakaway, and CC kind of nullified it. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are going to say that. I know Nurse is our $9.25 million defenseman. Don't even get me started on that price tag. But I actually think CC is. I love what CC does. I know sometimes he can have games where it just doesn't show up on the stat sheet, doesn't do anything flashy, but I really think he has a great defensive awareness. I was very happy when we brought him in, especially after what I saw him do in that short stint he had with the Penguins. It just felt like he had kind of found his game, and he just kind of continued rolling that on last year. So I'm a Cody Ceci fan.
What'd you think of Ryan Murray tonight?
You know, it's interesting. I was looking at the stat line. Like he got the assist on the Warren Foegele goal. He had the 3 giveaways that I think I was talking about, but I've honestly not minded him. I don't think he does anything too flashy. He had a couple plays where he lost the puck, but I felt like the puck was slipping off everyone's stick. It was like one sequence where 2 Oilers lost the puck, and then the puck came back in by a Vegas player, and then I think Riley Smith lost the puck, then Jack Eichel got the puck, and he lost the puck. So I don't know if it was the ice tonight or if it was just like everyone was gripping their sticks too tight. But I think Ryan Murray does fine for the minutes he plays. Like he plays, I'm looking at the stat sheet here, and he only played 14 minutes. So in those 14 minutes, I don't think he did anything egregious.
When the Oilers were away there just recently, was there like monster trucks or something in Rogers? I just wonder if there's a lingering.
That's a good point. I'm not sure, but it just felt like.
I thought I saw something where they were trucking in a bunch of dirt and whatever, and I think it was like monster trucks or monster jam, like monster trucks and motocross and all that. And I just wonder if there's kind of lingering effects from having that in there.
You might not be wrong because, I mean, I noticed some miscues and misplays even in the LA game on Wednesday. So, it's possible.
Nothing like when McDavid decides, though, I'm going to win this fucking game. I'm going to win it now. Like, when Nurse peeled back there, I'm like, okay, Dry and McDavid are going to head off, and that's the end of that first little go-round here, and we'll see him probably in another minute or so to come and try to close this out. No. Nurse, get me the fucking puck. I'm ending this.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. It's always interesting tactically just how much 3-on-3 overtime has changed. Like, I still remember when 3-on-3 came in, and I think it was a Chicago game where Patrick Kane just scored like 10 seconds in, and that was like the first 3-on-3 game when they first introduced it. And you just saw for a while, nobody knew what to do. It would just be like, you start it, somebody gets that 2-on-1 and it's over. And now it's just like, there's so many peel-offs, there's so many tactical plays getting the puck back to the goaltender. And I think in the end, the play worked because Nurse got it to McDavid, and McDavid can blow by anybody, scores the goal. But I really didn't think it was the sound play in the moment he made it. Like, you could have kept driving. He could have flipped back around, especially since Nurse has the body strength to push off a defender. So I was surprised he decided to exit out. And if McDavid didn't grab that puck, that could have been an odd man rush going the other way. So it's like that's how razor thin the margins are now. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an Oilers win in OT against a Vegas team that's been surging, and McDavid scores another beauty goal. So
it's funny though. Like even though it's 3-on-3, when they're inside the zone, sometimes it doesn't look like there's really a lot that can happen, right? Because they play sort of a man to man, and it's pretty tight. And so when he regrouped and pulled everybody out, he just gained all that space, and you give Connor time and space, and he knows what to do with it, and game over.
Yeah, and I mean, I was shocked. Like outside of the game time goal, wasn't it Connor who had the breakaway today where Aiden Hill made that ridiculous save? Yeah. Like he was flopping around. I thought as he flopped around, the puck was just going to sweep through, but somehow it kicked forward.
I think Connor actually got 2 cracks at that.
He did, and I was just like, I couldn't believe that was a goal. So yeah, I feel like Connor probably even wanted to redeem himself for that earlier play. Yeah, but yeah, he's just unbelievable.
I think
it's just crazy what the man can do.
I think they realize the moment, and sometimes when they get into a game like this and it's going well, but then they can't score and the other team does and ties it and then takes the lead. Years past they would fold and that would be it, but give them credit, they kept going and they didn't quit until they got the win.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was my girlfriend's actually a newer Oilers fan. She never really watched hockey, and now she's all in. She loves them. And last year we went to, as I mentioned, Game 7, and she just got to see what Connor McDavid's been able to do live. And it's just there's like not enough words to describe like what this guy can do, especially this many years in. It's just amazing the skill set that he has. He can almost jump another gear no matter how much time of the game has passed. Even Game 5 against Calgary, it was he did nothing in that game. If you remember, it wasn't until the OT winner he was being shut down, locked down, and he can still find that time and space and make the one play that matters. And that's what separates him from everyone else right now.
He is phenomenal, and we should not take that for granted. I mean, yeah, he's having a hell of a season, and so is Leon. Like the two of them are just ripping it up. Anything else you want to go back and forth on, or?
I'm trying to. I guess the one thing I'm thinking about is kind of our next stretch of games. I think we talked about the Jersey game. I think you have to give it back to Skinner. I'm curious how we. So it's interesting. I remember Woodcroft came in right around that Atlantic road trip last year, and it was the Florida game where I really felt like, okay, maybe he can turn this team around. And then we went on that great run basically from the start of January all the way up until we lost to the Avs. And the game we played against Florida again just a few days ago, I thought we played really well in that game again. But we came back against LA with a dud. Now LA plays that grimy game where they had like 29 shot blocks and Peterson faced 31 shots or something. So they had almost as many blocks as the goalie made the save. But today, beating Vegas, again, having to kind of overcome that tough game-tying goal. I hope this is kind of that step that you think we need to start building some sort of momentum, consistency. There's so much parity in the NHL now, so it's hard to say what will actually happen. But you hope this is a jumping off point. And now Jersey might be a good test that you don't take a team for granted just because they're lower in the standings like we've done in the past. You're facing high-profile teams that are on major win streaks, and you got to go in and beat those teams. And maybe that's the kind of confidence boost we as a team need right now.
This people get excited about this team and their starts and all of that. And I mean, this is like who they are. They're a rope-a-dope team. they prove that they can beat the best teams in the league and then lose to teams they should probably beat.
Yeah.
And like today, I think it was pretty clear they were up for this game and they got it done. Are they going to be up
Yeah.
for Jersey? I don't know. I hope so, but if you
Well, it's not an afternoon game, right? So
yeah,
don't have to worry about that one.
yeah, 5 o'clock Alberta time puck drop. But, and you know what? I think the kind of like automatic loss because it's an afternoon game is kind of a nice fable for people to believe in, but I don't really believe it. Like, the Florida game was a 2 o'clock start. We won that game.
It was I think it has to be a 2 o'clock start over here because that was a 4 o'clock Florida start.
Right.
So that was the little asterisk.
Yeah. Yeah. The 11 a.m. games, like in Philly and East Coast, might not be our thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's any hockey player's thing, really. I mean, they all kind of are geared to play around supper time or just shortly thereafter. I mean, they like their pregame naps, they like their routine, but whatever, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, granted, this isn't the start. I would say that we would have wanted coming into the season. Everyone thought, hey, we finally got a goaltender. We have a team that's played together for some time. Woodcroft gets a full season with this team, but every team goes through up and downs. The Avs have been struggling, and they seem to be starting to pick it up. But it just shows, again, just how razor thin everything is. Can the Oilers go on a 10-game run? I don't doubt it when you have McDavid and Draisaitl on this team. It's just they need to lock down a little bit more defensively, and that requires buy-in from not just the defenseman but the forward group to come in and support. So sometimes there's growing pains, and as you said, we're 10-8 now. We're only 18 games into an 82-game season. There's a lot of runway left.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the start has been a little bit tougher than most. I mean, Vegas had that big start, but I don't think the quality of competition for them has been quite the same as ours. So, keep clawing, keep pushing, and tread water. I mean, 3.5 months from now, you're going to get a pretty important player back in the lineup, and he should be fresh. And if he's somewhat healthy, that'll help.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely an interesting one because I've heard some people say, with LTIR, should you go out and get another player? I don't think so. I think you need to figure out who this team is with the players you have, because what are you going to do when he's back? Trying to get rid of somebody? It doesn't make sense. Every team is cash strapped right now, and you got to find the answer inside the locker room. And so far, like we said, Fogel's playing better. Costin's been a nice surprise for at least the past couple games. Let's see how he continues to progress. Janmark looked good on the top line. And I think the move of Nuge, I'm actually very glad they kept Nuge as a winger and kept McLeod as third line C. I like McLeod in that role. I think he adds that juice that I don't really think that Nuge has as a center. I think he's much better as a playmaker off the wing. So if you're going to move him off McDavid's line, I'm glad you put him on Draisaitl's.
Nuge is a very responsible center. He knows how to play the position, but he has a lot of trouble in the face-off dot, and that's hard to discuss or hard to mask that. I don't mind him as a center just because I know he knows where he's supposed to play positionally.
For sure.
But that's putting him on a wing in the top six. He's got that lethally accurate wrist shot, so he's a one-shot scorer, at times, and so I don't mind him there. And he usually just doesn't cough up the puck. At bad times, he makes smart decisions, so I'm fine with him being Playing with Leon, it's worked before, and I think it'll work again. And Fogel seems to, kind of not really be the hands guy, but like you said earlier, the greasy goals guy, and I mean those count too. Um, they don't always have to be the prettiest, but banging in loose change still counts on the scoreboard. So,
Well, I think this is why the acquisition of Hyman was so crucial for us. Like, I watch a lot of teams. I watch how they play, and when Toronto wasn't willing to keep Zach Hyman, I was like, please let's bring this guy here, because I don't think his tenacious level of effort is matched by many players, and he scores so many of those kind of goals. Like, he doesn't care. Like, that's what I hope. Like, you need a player like that on every line, and that's what I hope Fogel starts to realize. He can play that grimy role right in front of the net, and when you've got Draisaitl and Nuge on the flanks there, you can make a lot of things happen. And I agree. I've always been a Nuge supporter. All I meant specifically there was I just really do like McLeod as a third line C. But yeah, Nuge is one of the most defensively responsible centers in the league. He's the 200-foot center. And we need a player like that.
You'd stifle a little bit of McLeod's wheels by putting him on a wing or throwing him on the fourth line or something like that. He's carrying the puck well, and I think he's fine where he is, and I think Nuge is fine where he is, and seeing Hyman with McDavid with that one-timer tonight, I think he's fine where he is too.
Yeah, I agree.
And honestly, I don't think Janmark really hurt anything playing along with those two guys either. He can skate, and his decision making is just right there. So I thought it was good. I'd like to see a little bit more from Puljujarvi on the third line. I think you'd notice Costin even a little bit more than Yessa, but hopefully at some point the kid breaks through and then they come in bunches and he gets going. I don't know.
You made the point to last year, like Yessa had the better first half and then Yamo had the better second half. It's just hopefully these guys can start going a little bit more consistently together.
They're both streaky guys, and I don't know why it has to be Oilers fans or some Oilers fans want to cannibalize one versus the other and pitting guys against each other and I guess we sort of do the same thing with the Barry Bouchard thing, thinking that they're kind of the same player times two, but I don't think they actually are right now. I think Bouchard is still a young guy going maybe through a little bit of that sophomore slump, and Barry this season is looking a little bit more like the veteran kind of guy. You were talking about his offensive side, but honestly, he's playing pretty good defensively too.
And I think he's been probably the biggest defensive beneficiary of Manson's system. Like you just saw it in the playoffs too. Obviously, they had dropped him down to like bottom pair minutes at that time, but I think that worked for him. But overall, I think two of the biggest things and that have been affecting our defense, as I mentioned, the loss of Duncan Keith, I really didn't expect it to have such an impact, especially since just looking at the Oilers right now, he was one of the few people that could actually make the stretch pass. Like, we just can't seem to connect on stretch passes.
There's
and then
he brings that, and like I always tell Dash, if you watched Keith's work in his own end on the walls, he was a miserable SOB to play against. Like he'd go to the box every once in a while for the cross checks and the hacks, but I mean he does that all the time, and you feel it when you play against him, and that takes a toll, and I'm a little bit medieval when it comes to that. I don't mind it. I wish Nurse would add a little bit more kind of snarl to his game, and but try not to be going to the box all the time, but let the other guy like they say in Slapshot, let him know you're there. So
no, I agree. I thought there was actually like a perfect example of that near the end of the game. I think it was prior to, or it might have been after the 3-3 goal. There was a play where Jack Eichel was in the bottom left corner of the net, and Nurse was right there going in for the hit, and he just held up just a little. And I don't think you have to destroy a guy into the boards, but just do something more than that, because Eichel is strong enough. Like, Eichel's a good passer, and he can get the puck through a small crevice in Nurse's skate, and that's exactly what happened that kept the puck alive. I agree. I wish Nurse would add that to his game, but I think that goes back to our whole defensive core. I think one of the biggest things our defense still needs to learn, and I knew this would be a bit of an issue. I'm surprised it's still an issue 18 games in, because I feel like they've had enough time with both goalies, but they miss Mike Smith kind of being that third defender behind the net. They miss that. They miss the ability to cut a puck play off. The dump-ins don't work and get the exits out. And right now, our team doesn't know how to regroup in their own zone. And that's been one of the biggest structural learnings. So I'm hoping that keeps continuing to get better, because even though I mentioned 10 giveaways by our defense today, I still thought this was one of our better defensive efforts so far this season.
Yeah, Skinner's a pretty good puck handler, but I mean Smith would virtually stop everything, and D would just go like to the either side on the wall and get the first pass, and then they're up ice and out. So yeah, there's definitely something to that. I mean, I was hoping that we wouldn't see the gaffes, because Smith was every 3 to 4 games, there'd be something like what happened tonight, and I think this is really the first major one. 18, what is it? 17, 18 games into the season now, so
18 games in, yeah. I mean, and this is where it's interesting, because if you look at the two stat metrics, I think Skinner's now 4-4. And Jack Campbell's 6-4, and look at the save percentage versus goals against for Skinner. Skinner has been amazing. I think Skinner's had one bad goal, and I think that was the third goal in the Jersey game. That was his one weak goal where it went right through the 5-hole. Other than that, this guy has been rock solid. He's kept us in games that I kind of feel like maybe we shouldn't have won. And he's given us a chance in almost every single game he's played. That's the big difference. And it's interesting, every time we play with Campbell, it's almost like we seem to realize we have to score 6 goals to win. So again, it's similar to what you talked about, where from certain players, we seem to go like, this player picks up and this player falls. When the Oilers, they're like, with this goalie, we need to play more lockdown. With this goalie, we're going to score this many goals. It's like, why can't they mesh some of those systems together, depending on who's in net?
Yeah. What I've seen, the biggest thing I think I've seen from Skinner thus far is just he's tracking well, and he seems just to be in more control. It's very rare that he's getting caught, on the wrong side of the net when puck's behind him. Like he's playing really well, and Dash talked about a little bit with Campbell, or I guess the guys in the group chat, that his equipment, like when pucks hit him, it just dies. Like it, and Dash was wanting, like, big rebounds so he could steer it into the corner and whatever. And I always thought, like, if you're a goalie, you want, little tight rebounds that just drop and then you just smother it and that's it. But Dash is wanting blockers and catchers to be really active so that you can just take a shot and put it in the corner and then it's over with. But and I understand that for kind of from a tactical standpoint, but to me, like, I always thought goalies wanted to swallow pucks and not really have big rebounds and then just catch it while it's falling. And if that part's working, then your equipment's working. But having a glove that pucks are going right through the webbing and stuff, to me that's an obvious problem. But
No, it's a good point. Like, I mean, it's quite interesting watching both their styles because I feel like they both kind of try to redirect that puck out. Even today, Skinner in the first period, I don't think Skinner necessarily plays with that. I want that puck to stop dead. He angles the deflections out, and I felt like I saw that quite a bit even today. There was quite a few plays that would go in the opposite corner, but I think what Skinner seems to recognize better is the angle at which he needs to save off of his blocker, because every single one of those blocker saves that he made today, there was, even if a Vegas player had gotten it, I don't think they would have had an empty net to shoot into. And with Campbell, a few of the goals where they're doing kind of that stopping dead, as you said, they're just, part of it's our defense not boxing out well enough, which definitely needs to be fixed, because there's a few there where I'm like, okay, that shot was so hard. Of course, it stopped dead the way it hit off his blocker. Somebody needs to help clear that puck out. So I can't blame every single play and every single goal that Campbell's let in on him. But there are some decisions he makes with how he decides to make the save that are leading to these second danger chances that end up going into the net. So again, this is where I'm hoping that the Oilers only had 2 games this week. I'm hoping he's been getting a lot of practice in. I still stand by that. I think Stewart should get the Devils game, but I think Campbell should get the game after that, regardless of the outcome.
So I guess we've probably shot enough pucks off the post tonight, as me and Dash like to say. So you've got the one article up, 1/5 of the Oilers schedule in the books.
Yeah.
Anything else on the fire, or?
Nothing as of yet. I'm kind of coming up with some ideas. I kind of want to take a deeper dive into to kind of what the Oilers' breakdowns on the penalty kill have been so far. I kind of want to take a deeper dive into just what they performed. Like today, the Golden Knights went 0 for 3 on their power play, and their power play's been looking really good. So that was one of our best penalty kill efforts. So I really want to take a look at this specific game, see what we did right, and see what kind of defensive adjustments have been made in this game. I thought McLeod had a few key clears based on what I was paying attention to as they were going on, but I want to go back and replay the footage and kind of compare what some of those adjustments have been.
I would say a little bit of tonight's PK was a little bit of bend but don't break. Like there was a little bit of forward collapsing and getting a little tighter box, I guess, out of it, and I guess it kind of worked. They do have some dangerous weapons out there. Like Kessel is deceptive on the power play.
Between him, Eichel, Stone, Riley Smith, like they have dangerous puck movers, and William Karlsson too, and obviously Pietrangelo on the point. Like they have solid players and players who played together, other players that have come in over the years. But they have a dangerous power play. I felt they were zipping the pucks around, but we were getting into shooting lanes. So that was something that was good to see. Again, doing it against Vegas is great. Now let's see if we can do it against Jersey, because Jersey can draw penalties too. And again, I think the Oilers will have a short memory on that one, remembering the 2 goals in 6 seconds. So I really hope that lights a fire under them to come out and win a game away from home after they were kind of burned at home. So let's see if those things can keep moving. Similarly, I think we could learn a lesson on the power play from the way Vegas moves the puck around. As amazing as their power play is, and Draisaitl's shot is unreal, and McDavid's cross-ice passes are great, teams are starting to figure out what they do. I think you need more shots from the point and more shots to get through. I think they have to keep relying on what they've been doing, only because Bouchard, Barrie, they're not getting their shots through. But Barrie had 2 goals a few games ago, and I just think that if you can create those threats from all areas of the ice on the power play, it will start to open those plays back up again for McDavid and Draisaitl to just pull off what they've been pulling off. So it's always difficult when your power play is struggling as your penalty kill is struggling. But today, our special teams were different. We were 1 for 3 on the power play, and we were 3 for 3 on the PK. So, again, positive signs all around there.
Yeah, I was pretty sure the power play that we did score on was going to be our last power play of the night, too.
Yeah.
I guess I'll let you go with your prediction, I guess, for Monday night's game.
Ooh, that's a good one. So you're talking about score. If Skinner's in net, and I don't know if they're who Jersey's going to run. It's I think Blackwood is still injured, right? So they'll probably still go with Vanacek. I would definitely say it's a high-scoring game. Let's go with an Oilers 4-3 win.
Oilers 4-3 in Jersey. Regulation or overtime?
In Jersey. I'm going to call regulation.
Very good.
And let's call Draisaitl 2 goals.
There we are. Leon with the pair. He had a strong game today.
He did. He was very good today.
So you can follow Raj Bauer, as in Skates, on the Twitters. Thanks everybody for joining us. It was a hell of a game, and I was expecting a playoff style atmosphere tonight at Rogers, and it kind of lived up to the billing. And unfortunately, we don't do 3-on-3 in the playoffs, but exciting nonetheless. Thanks everybody for joining us. Keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. And Raj says we're going to beat the Devils 4-3 on Monday night. You heard it here first. Have a good night, everybody.